Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nick. I'm a singer and songwriter living in Los Angeles. And in this video, I wanted to share my journey of quitting social media. Exactly 1 year ago today, I left all of the social media apps behind, both as a consumer and as a creator. And in this video, I wanted to share some of the benefits that I felt in my day-to-day life and my creative life, as well as some of the drawbacks of not being able to easily communicate with other creatives, fans, or people around the world who are interested in the projects that I'm working on. If you're thinking about quitting social media, even for a week or a month, I hope that this video is helpful in sharing some of the insights that I've gained being completely off the world's most popular communication platforms. First, let's talk about why I quit and why I think so many people try to quit social media. As creators, I think there's a lot of pressure and stress and anxiety that comes with creating all the time. Up until pretty recently, as a musician, I was releasing music very frequently. In fact, I was putting out a brand new song every single month, and I did that for almost 4 years. And every time I put out a song, I would have to get on social media to announce it to my fans. I would have to post artwork, behind the scenes videos, and content to keep the machine running. And while I do believe this content can provide a window for fans into the behind the scenes process of making their favorite songs, creators the world over know all too well how much time and energy it takes both emotionally and physically to create all of that content. And it created this never-ending mountain of stress and anxiety to always be creating and always be posting to tell people about my work. Another reason that I think people quit, and a reason that I quit social media, is that I don't have a good off button. Meaning when I pick up my phone to start scrolling on Instagram or on TikTok, I don't have a lot of self-control. I'll lose 30 minutes, an hour just scrolling mindlessly on my phone. I might be having a lot of fun while I'm doing it, but I don't have the self-regulation to say it's time to stop. Another reason I was excited to quit is that I found myself spending a lot of time thinking about what type of content I was going to be making next, rather than being in the moment for the current creative project that I'm working on. Whether I intended to or not, to keep up with such a rigorous release schedule of putting out a new song every single month, I was always thinking 2 and 3 and 4 steps ahead, which meant that I wasn't actually present in the creative project I was currently working on. And early on, I didn't really notice that this was happening, but the more music that I released, and as time went on, I started noticing patterns in how I was even writing my songs. I was trying to finish songs faster, release them faster, trying desperately to get time back into my life that was otherwise being occupied with creating content. And the last reason that I quit social media is just the stress and anxiety that I felt from consuming content all of the time. When you're only subjected to people's highlight reels or the worst moments in their life or the worst moments that are happening around the world, it's a lot of highs and lows to process mentally. And while I didn't realize it while I was consuming the content, now with 2020 hindsight, having been off of social media for a while, I now recognize the damage that was being done, exposing myself to people's lifestyles that were way overinflated compared to mine. And while regular life can be a little boring sometimes, not constantly being exposed to those big hits of dopamine about something really big happening gives me a lot more clarity and space in my day to open up to the world. All right, now that I've talked about why I quit social media, let me jump into some of the benefits that I felt not being on Instagram and TikTok all the time. For me, the most important thing that I've gained since being off of social media is more dedicated creative time. As I mentioned, I was spending so much time thinking about creating content, editing it, uploading it, and repeating that cycle over and over again that I kind of lost touch with my inner creative self. It took a number of months of being off of social media to feel like I was writing songs again that were coming from a special place, that the music that I was creating was true and genuine to me. While it isn't always the case, I find with some of the pop music that I'm involved in writing in, either for my own projects or for other artists, sometimes there are creative compromises that are made specifically for content, meaning that sometimes a chorus for a song might get chosen because of how catchy it is for a video, rather than it being a good choice for the song. Instead, the decisions get made either by the artists or the labels to push forward with a chorus or a lyric that they know is going to do well on TikTok, rather than keep the emotional integrity of the song. I get to spend time with my feelings and try to understand how I'm actually feeling and channel that into my music rather than relying on deadlines to create new things. Another big benefit that I've felt being off of social media is that I compare myself to others a lot less. When I was on social media, I was always exposed to my friends who were on tour or doing cool co-writes with artists that I dreamed of writing with. But now that I'm not exposed to that all of the time, I don't compare myself as much to other artists or creators. Even if you're not an artist, I think that you can resonate with this point by seeing other people's really nice lifestyles on Instagram all the time. I think we're all familiar with it, and feeling inadequate, whether they just got married or bought a house or they're doing really well for themselves. I'm not thinking about that anymore. Instead, I'm trying to focus on how I can be better day to day rather than how other people are doing out in the world. The next benefit is a pretty obvious one, and it's the dopamine detox benefit. Not picking up your phone every single time you're bored does good things for your brain. It's amazing how often, even still today, I reach for my phone when I'm feeling bored. I'm looking for a dopamine hit from some source on my phone, either a news story or a new message or an email or some stat that comes through that I get excited about. By not always reaching for my phone when I'm feeling bored, I not only have more free time, I kind of feel my brain readjusting to this new normal. I don't have to be on my phone all the time to be having a good time. This also means in social settings that I'm spending less time on my phone because I don't have social media apps as a crux to open up. There's nothing to do on my phone other than check the time or text my wife back. The last big benefit that I want to talk about of getting off of social media is how it forces you to have in-person connections and friendships again. If I'm not on social media, I don't know when my friends get married or have kids or have big life events that they want to share with the world. And while I do miss not knowing those sorts of things on a day-to-day basis, it has forced me to reach out more proactively to my friends and my community to find out what's going on. I'm able to get coffee with people more frequently, get lunch, catch up over a phone call, and have more meaningful, in-depth conversations with the people in my life rather than just scrolling by those events on Instagram. All right, next, let's talk about some of the downsides of quitting social media. It is not all sunshine and roses on the other side of the digital Rubicon. You can't just quit social media and have everything in your life go great from now on. Just as I mentioned how I am spending a lot more time building in-person connections and catching up with friends in the real world, similarly, the downside of leaving social media is that it's really hard to do that. When you follow your friends on social media or casual acquaintances that you've met, in the case of working in the music industry, it's a lot easier to pick up your phone and give somebody a like on social media or send them a DM than it is to try and set up a coffee or a lunch date. And as a result of not being on social media, I do feel like I miss out on a lot of information about my friends' lives. I would love to know about the musicians in my community releasing new music, or about what shows they're playing, or about what showcases are coming up that I can go and support in the arts community. Right now, I have to rely on text messages or finding out about an event in person when I run into that person, rather than finding out online ahead of time. And for a city as big as Los Angeles, that can mean that the show is either sold out or I miss it completely, and I don't like that feeling. Another big downside of getting off of social media is losing touch with people that you haven't talked to in a few years. I think basically up until the invention of Facebook or MySpace, there weren't really good ways to stay in touch with people that you haven't seen in a while. They would just kind of fade out of your life. And now, having been off of Instagram and TikTok and all of these platforms for a little while, I can say that that's pretty true. There are people that I went to high school with that I have no idea what they're up to anymore, people in bands that I've toured with over the years that I don't know what they're up to anymore. And in general, I feel pretty out of the loop on people's lives that I haven't seen in a few years. Now, in some ways, this may be a good thing because it unclutters my mind to focus on the present, the here and now, and the people in my life right now. But in the case of the music business, there are people that I still work with that I haven't talked to in 2 or 3 years. It may be a number of years between projects before we work on something again. All right, now for the million-dollar question. Will I go back to social media? I'm not sure. To be honest, I think there have been a lot of great benefits of not being on my phone all of the time. As I mentioned, I have plenty time to work on creative projects. I get to be really in the moment while I'm working on them, either alone or with other people. And I feel like I've opened up all of this time in my day to not sink into creating videos and photos for social media companies that are just there to run advertisements and make money off of my time. On the other hand, I do feel like I'm missing out, especially in a creative community as large as Los Angeles. There are people hosting shows almost every night of the week that I want to go to and support and be a part of to really engage with this community. And without easy access to that information on Instagram or on TikTok, I'm probably going to miss those shows. The same is true for networking events and opportunities to go out and hear speakers give advice about breaking into a creative industry. However, even with all of that said, I am still happy having made the decision to get off of social media. I feel very proud of the music that I've been making lately, and I would encourage you, if you're feeling burnt out, to try and take a break as well. I promise that getting off of the internet is not the be-all, end-all. And now that I'm playing shows again in person, I'm able to develop more meaningful one-on-one conversations with people that I meet after shows, rather than just shuffling them to my Instagram page to keep up with me vaguely over the next couple of months. So if you're an artist or just a regular person thinking about quitting social media for good or just taking a break, I hope that this video has been helpful in giving you some guidance on some of the things that you might gain by having all of that time back, as well as some of the potential downsides if your creative business is built on keeping up with people all the time. If you've tried quitting social media or are currently off of social media, I'd love it if you left a comment down below, and bonus points if you are a creator as well and can talk about some of the benefits and downsides that you've experienced not being able to post your art and your creativity to social media all of the time. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you're well, and I'll see you out there.